Ever wonder what your day would be like with Boom Radio? Yep, us too. We don't think about nightmares.
Okay. I was trying to catch your attention, but it's all good.
Oh, okay.
We're live now on your Boom Radio NG. It's the Boombar, where we talk music, sports, politics, and everything in between. Not only do we talk politics, sports, and music, we prefer solutions. We analyze, we criticize, but we also prefer solutions.
Okay. And on that note, welcome to today's show. It promises to be a very interesting one, actually. Today is, I think, I can't say it's a new dawn, really, but because maybe today we can officially say that we have a new president, and then there's no.
No, we said that months ago.
What I mean by we have a new president is that not that we have a new president, at least we know who our president is.
We knew that months ago.
So everybody was waiting for Supreme Court too. Let's not even go there.
Well, apparently, what you're referring to does not affect some people. They're telling you that is not their president.
See, you people. At this point,
you really can't force people to accept anybody as a president.
That's what I'm saying. You can't, but when you really think about it, you really more before you make such pronouncements. Yeah, I'm not trying to put anybody down. I'm just saying that before you make such pronouncements, who are you in the grand scheme of things? Or what's your opinion?
The people who are making those pronouncements are Nigerians who are also stakeholders in the Nigerian project, who have a say and who have an opinion.
It's an opinion.
And a say.
Maybe not a say, because
it is a say. Everybody has a say. It's democracy.
I don't think everybody has a say.
Everybody
at this point,
has a say.
After the elections, it was all in the hands of the court. It was the say of the court and nobody else.
Everybody has a say.
But the thing is that that say, what is it going to do?
Does not mean that they don't have a say.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody has an opinion. It's just that what weight does that opinion or say? What does it carry? That's where my own issue comes from.
We'll come back to that. If you're just joining us, don't worry. This is not the meat of the matter. The meat of the matter, at least starting with the headlines, is that the Supreme Court judgment, as it concerns the Presidential Election Tribunal, sat today and have already made their pronouncements. There were a lot of gray areas that Nigerians had been talking about. They've been talking points for months, some for years, and the Supreme Court has sat about that.
Yeah, I think they put to bed a lot of stories. Now, first things first is that I'm actually going to commend the Supreme Court, really, because part of me was hoping for another, or not that was hoping, but it was like I thought that we're going to have another lengthy session, like what happened with the appeal court. Not saying that the appeal court, because give it to the appeal court, if for people that actually followed and listened to the appeal court judgment on this matter, they were very detailed. It almost like they left nothing out, which, in the real sense of it, makes a lot of sense, yeah? And it was really nice. But I actually thought that we're going to have another session of that with the Supreme Court. But I also, there was an indication from, I think, last week when there were the submissions, And there was indications that this particular sitting was going to be very brief, as one of the people that they had, the appellants that was coming to Supreme Court, they had already advised this particular person, and is the party APM, I think Allied People's Movement. They had already, before we even go on, they had already advised them to withdraw their appeal. That it's not like it doesn't make it, not like it doesn't make any sense.
It was only the Supreme Court that advised them. Yeah. I said we prefer solutions here at the back.
Really, but you're not the Supreme Court now.
You're making it sound as if they even had to go to Supreme Court. I said it here.
But they did. Is their right? Yeah. To go.
Is their right to waste our time?
But it looked like the Supreme Court was not having any of it, was not going to waste anybody's time, so they had just told them to withdraw their appeal quickly, and they moved on from that. So one of the three parties that had brought an appeal to the Supreme Court had already been dismissed even before the date of the judgment. Another indication that came that this was going to be quick was also the date of the Supreme Court judgment. I'm like, okay, when it was just announced, was it yesterday or 2 days ago? And I'm like, okay, that's so fast. It was like the submissions were like a few days ago, and then there's already a court judgment. And it was, so I think that from a bit of those indications, it looked like we're going to have a very swift judgment. And yeah, it really was swift. It didn't take hours on end. I think the whole thing was less than 2 hours.
Thereabout.
And so kudos to please not letting us spend so much hours watching this thing. Kudos to you people. Just wanted to put that out there. Now, second thing is that for people that do not know, it is official now. The Supreme Court with a panel of 7 judges have now affirmed President Bola Tinubu as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and I think it is safe to say that matter has been put to bed.
Yeah, more or less.
Now, going through talking points in the
judgment.
Because
you don't have to go through the entire judgment. Let us highlight the most talked about ones through the months, and of course, which has been dealt with.
And has been dealt with now. Now, first things first, this conversation started well before the elections. And funny enough, it was a phenomenon that had never happened before. And this is the issue of 25% votes in the Federal Capital Territory. Now, for people that, for a bit of clarity, so according to the Constitution, there is a rule that for you to win an election, other than having the majority of votes, you should also have 25% of votes in at least 2/3, and 2/3 is 24 states. In the Constitution, it says 2/3 of states and the FCT. And that had become a controversy for well over a year. It has been going on from long before the elections even started. That was a conversation. And the interesting part was that issue had never really come up before that time. There was a conversation of President Buhari never won the Federal Capital Territory. I think Jonathan did not also. I think it was President. I think Obasanjo too didn't win. I think it was Jonathan that won it. But the truth is that none of them had actually had less than 25% of votes in the Federal Capital Territory. So there wasn't really a controversy around it. As God would have it, as fate would have it, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did not have 25% of votes in the Federal Capital Territory. And that seemed to be one of the issues that the Labour Party and the PDP had with his pronouncement as the president. They're saying that people have talked about this thing back and forth, how according to the law you have to have 25% in FCT. Some people have said the FCT does not enjoy a special status There's conversation of how it is. There's another part of the constitution that it is treated as a state. So people are saying that if it's treated as a state, then it should have a governor. You know, it's definitely a talking point that has gone on for months and months and months. Now, according to the Supreme Court today, the Supreme Court upheld the ruling of the appeal court, which the appeal court had already talked about as well, that a candidate does not need to get at least 25% of votes in the Federal Capital Territory.
What had been discussed, and at some point, you start to look at people like, how did you graduate? How did you go through school?
So, sorry, before you go on, so I
Yeah.
just wanted to add something that, so the Supreme Court, as of today, has now declared that the Federal Capital Territory does not have any special status.
All right.
End of story.
So this is one of the things that a top lawyer had raised it last year.
Yeah.
Months before the election. It's almost like, oh, he was anticipating this, or maybe they were planning it as some form of backup. You never can tell. That's why I'm not mentioning the person's name, so they can't say that there's any issue there. We have all studied a little bit of the Electoral Act and all, and we've taken part in a couple of elections. There is no electoral college in the Nigerian electoral system as it obtains in
Like
the
in the United
US. Our own version of the electoral college is within the parties when they have their congress that we are talking. But that you can't even say that as electoral college. But it's just like a few people who would decide the fate of the country, because
the delegate system.
the delegates and all of that. That's the closest you have to it. And that's the closest you have to a group of special people. You want to know how special these guys are? Some of them leave their villages or their cities as regular guys and come back as millionaires. You know, very, very sad matter, but this is where we are. When we talked about this last year, we said what the Constitution was saying is that you must get X number of states, and the and in Abuja means that if you get 25 and Abuja, then you are good to go. Not like if you get 36 states that we have and lose Abuja, then you can be president. Because that's the logic that the people in the Labour and PDP were pushing. And it's funny that even you that you're pushing it did not qualify. You see, it's like saying, oh, this person came first, but it was supposed to break the world record. So if it doesn't break the world record, he cannot be the fastest man in the world. But he came first. But you came second and third, which means that you don't even qualify at all. Someone won the required number of states. None of the other two guys did. Constitutionally itself, they would have been in a quagmire, and none of them could have been declared winners based on the Constitution. Even if if the court had decided to disqualify Tinubu,
it would have gone to fresh elections again.
Straight. Because none of them, with the result that they had, could come and say, except they're going to say, okay, that's not their result, which is what I was expecting them to do in the first place. You know? Because I remember when Peter Obi had that press conference, he said, I won this election and I am going to prove it. Now, the way to prove it is not all of this 25% Abuja, somebody forged or didn't forge something, is to come out and say that of the 20-something million votes, I have proof that there are about 4 million that were mine, that were wrongly counted for someone else. And this is the proof. And there's no judgment that would have been sweeter than someone who had proof and won. But when you got to court, your prayers were completely different.
Completely different, yeah.
Even at the Supreme Court, you still didn't push that agenda. It was all about someone has 25% or didn't have 25%. Someone did not resign and someone resigned, double nomination. All of those things were very, very petty. And when you say it, you become a pariah.
It was about attacking the other person and not proving your own case as winning the election. Now, moving on from that issue. Now, another issue that popped up was the issue of the IREV and how INEC did not upload the election results at the time that they had said they were going to, and they're claiming that because of that timing, the election was compromised. According to the Supreme Court again, which the appeal court had already talked about, which, I'm sorry, but if you do a little bit of reading, you will know that the IREV was not, and I'm not sure it was ever designed to be a collation center.
At all.
It was literally what you call a viewing center, where instead of where I go to vote, let me put it like this, I go to vote and they count the votes there. Before the IREV, I think I'm only opportuned to see the results that happened in my polling unit. With IREV, I can call up any polling unit across the country, and there's a picture of it right there. It doesn't change the votes. And what even amazes me is because why people were happy so much on this IREV is that if you're looking for results, number one, your agent should have a copy of the original results coming from the polling unit that day. Also, I know that they also say that if each party's own gets missing, other than INEC having, the police also has a copy of each polling unit, because there's supposed to be security agencies in. They also have a copy of those things, which can actually be subpoenaed, can be called up. So, if you don't have yours, you can get from INEC. If you don't get from INEC, you can get from the police. Why was uploading stuff on IREV? And I remember there was a conversation, there was an interview with Peter Obi where he went on and people were promised a certain thing. Promise or not? Were they promised? Yes. Did INEC fulfill the promise to the letter? No. There was an explanation for that. Is it tenable? Maybe, maybe not. But does it change anything about the election, the integrity of the elections? I don't think so. Keep in mind that there are places in this country that do not even have internet. So you won't probably get the. Also keep in mind that there are places, remember that there are places that elections went on for days. They had to cancel some people and they had to start elections all over again, and and all that and all that. And I was now wondering, like, okay, why are we dancing around the bush with these things? Now, according to the Supreme Court again, let me read it specifically. They said the non-availability of election results on the INEC result viewing portal. Viewing portal. For people that...
Emphasis on viewing.
Emphasis on viewing. Is no ground for the nullification of the February 2023 presidential election. Saying that INEC, the Electoral Act, empowers INEC to determine the mode of transmission of election results, and it is theirs only. So because they said one thing one time and then they did another thing, it doesn't make any sense according to him. According to the judge, Justice Okoro, he said the interpretation of law must be that such that it will reduce lawmaking to absurdity, noting that he sees merit in the issue as raised by the appellants, and then he dismissed it.
Now, one of the unique things about this judgment is how the 7 Supreme Court judges all voted unanimously.
Yeah.
So on virtually every prayer that was brought before them, on virtually every point that was raised by Atiku and Peter Obi, the judges all agreed, So, and in fairness, in fairness to INEC, regardless of how people feel, because at this point, it's all about the truth. They had said that it could be this or that. They had said that. Now, to forestall this from happening, there are over 170,000 polling units in Nigeria at the last election. You are supposed to have, I think this thing is very simple. You're supposed to have an agent, at least one agent at every polling unit. Every result sheet should be appended to by your agent, and he gets a copy. There's technology. A lot of people did it. I know that the APC and the PDP did it. Their agents even took pictures of those result sheets and sent it to their own central collating centers, their situation rooms and all of that. Now, all these three parties actually claimed that they had situation rooms.
How many of them actually did have situation
It is
rooms?
something that would have actually made their court cases sweeter if, indeed, Labour Party had agents in all those polling units. PDP had in all the polling units, and APC had. If indeed they had, there will be no controversy. You understand? And if there's controversy, you'll be able to tell INEC straight to their faces with facts and figures, with numbers, not sentiments, not rumors, not noise. That at this particular polling unit that you have put up, these are the number of votes that we have, and we're standing by it. And this is the proof. This is the proof. So this would have even taken you away from thinking that IREV was going to be some form of smoking gun in this situation.
It's very interesting here, and I really and truly, I think that one of the things that I also think that we also need to be careful about is the fact that because we can go to court because of anything and over anything, I think that there's a lot of abuse of court processes. Now, one of the issues is that was raised is the double nomination of the vice president. And according to the Supreme Court, they had talked about how they had sat on this case. There was already a Supreme Court judgment on
before the appellate court had even sat.
And then the appellate court, which was the presidential election petition court, had talked about it, citing the judgment of the Supreme Court, which we know that the Supreme Court in Nigeria is the highest court in the land. Of course, it only makes sense for the appellate court to cite the judgment of the Supreme Court. And they're now bringing the case again to the same Supreme Court. What are you trying to achieve? Like, let's call it spade a spade. Like, what exactly are you trying to achieve? This case had already been adjudged by the same Supreme Court. I feel that, I think that a lot of these things were just abuse of court processes. And it's because you feel that you can, bring anything to the court. Some things are time wasting. We are wasting taxpayers' money. We shouldn't be doing some things. I will still come back to another very interesting matter. But still talking about this matter, another issue is that the Supreme Court dismissed Atiku's plea to file fresh evidence against Tinubu. Now they're also talking about the main reason why they dismissed this was basically on a technicality. They're saying, according to them, that the time frame to admit such evidence had elapsed, citing Section 285, subsection 5 of the Constitution, which provides the PEPC to hear and determine all petitions arising from the presidential election. It said 180 days had expired on September 17th. So, the Supreme Court had no jurisdiction to admit the document.
One of the things that astounds me is that how they had always raised some of these issues during their campaigns and all of that banter and everything. Why, for instance, didn't the Atiku team start their US thing earlier? Why didn't they start all the fact finding and everything? What was the sudden trigger? What was the sudden ginger? Knowing actually that it was not going to come out in time for any of the judgments.
Any of the judgments, yeah, interesting. They're also talking about the judgment.
But let's also look at that document that they wanted to.
Yeah, that's also what I was going to talk
Thank
about.
you.
That the Supreme Court also had dismissed this appeal, talking about wanting to admit the evidence in itself, saying, according to them, that the deposition was not even allowed. Why? Because there has to be what's the English now? Like a foreign deposition cannot be used without authentication. And this particular thing had no seal by the court or signature by the consulate to affirm the authenticity of its origin.
I was going to go a step further, and I'm glad you have established that. So the step further that I'm going is that at no point in time, because we talked about this at the bar a few weeks ago, when Chicago State University attended this deposition, at no point in time did they deny that Bola Tinubu was their student. At no point in time did they say that he forged a result. So what were you bringing?
What are you bringing to the court
that would
anyway?
implicate him?
Yeah, because
Because
according to the
we
case
like
in
going
the
with
US,
sentiment a lot.
because according to the case in the US, he went to the school, he graduated from the school, his transcripts were released. So really and truly, what are you coming to bring to the court? And which brings me to the case of lawyers. I'm not a lawyer, but I feel that looking at this particular case, I have seen more intelligent cases. I feel that from the word go, the minute they had, all parties had brought out their issues and they had, they had charged, they had put out all the issues that they had and sent it to court and all that, and they made it public, it was almost obvious how this case was going to go. Some of the things we had just, it was almost like we had talked about it here, and it wasn't even like we're even in a court or we knew how this, but it was just common sense. And I have a problem. That's where I have a problem with the fact that, you see, a lot of these people, they are sons. And, take, for example, the position that cannot be used in court. Are these sons going to, that the lawyers for Atiku going to say they do not know the law of the land and how depositions have to be used? You can only use the foreign depositions a certain way. Are they going to say that they do not know that there is a particular time frame for you to bring evidence to the court? Little technicalities like that. And I'm wondering, like, what are you doing? What exactly did you just go there to just show your face and say you were part of? Because I'm not sure. I feel some people need to return the money that you were paid.
No, I beg you. They have worked for it. They have earned it. We've always known that the election season in Nigeria, once INEC declares campaigns open, takes about a year, and in some cases a year plus. So we move from the primaries to the campaigns to election proper to inauguration, and in between that, the court cases start. Then inauguration, then the continuation of the court cases, and that latter part is actually a longer period. You get, and that's why we call
Thankfully,
it.
I think this one was not so long.
It's lawyer season, when lawyers actually,
cash out.
They celebrate their own Christmas in advance. Yes, they're lawyers. Congratulations to all of you that got paid. You all got paid anyway, and we're here. Anything they happen, maybe we hear them, But on a serious tip, that's how the law works. You cannot expect people to adjudicate on cases by themselves, regardless of what your client wants, or what you believe in.
That's what I'm saying. Isn't it also
optimistic? Because
isn't it also in their...
Dolupo, are you going to say that you have not heard some judgments that will shock you? Are you saying that just sitting down there now that even with
Are we saying that? So are we saying that the courts were not going to follow due process?
It's not about them following due process or not. It's about them following the law, and the law does not go with sentiment.
Exactly.
So there might be. Wait, listen, I'm just trying to establish that for people to go to court at times, and people think it's crazy. There might just be some kind of funny thing. Like for instance, the lawyers of Bola Tinubu were extremely smart. They had prepared a defense that, in their own case, they might think it was watertight. Mm-hmm. And when they saw the presentation of Atiku and Obi at the tribunal, presidential tribunal, they rested their case faster than anybody knew. That was a smart legal move. That why defend more than what they have brought out? What I'm trying to say there is that if they had decided to go with their original defense, they would have had to do more. In the process of doing more, they might just expose themselves to God knows what. And that's what, in the cross-examination or whatever, that's what those people could actually use or call against them. Against them, because it's all about, technicalities and, using legal tactics to get the result that you want. So some lawyers will go to court knowing that it is not solid yet, but they believe that they could pull off something in the court. And it happens like that at times. Again, a lot of lawyers would take a case because it is the right of that person to be represented.
I'm not saying he shouldn't be represented. I'm saying that there's some things that... What's the word now? Okay, take for example, I don't expect that it is the client that will know that evidences have to be filed at a certain date. I would expect that it is the job of the lawyers to do that issues. Here we are, but you are slacking off in your job. I don't expect that it is the job of the client to know that a foreign deposition has to be signed and authenticated properly before the court can admit it.
Well, again,
that's where I'm coming from.
Again, either signed or not, everybody would try what they can, regardless of what it is. Remember also that the judges also have the license to interpret the law. And at times, you hear some judgments and you're like, okay, what exactly has happened here? It happens in football too. The referees who are arbiters of the game, just like the judges are, so you just never can tell how it will swing. You don't know how the pendulum will swing, So, yeah, and like, politicians are incurable optimists. And what do you expect from their lawyers? So congratulations to the lawyers once again. It's lawyer season, and you guys are hammered because no lawyer worked for free.
Nobody works for free.
None. Why should they work for free?
Anyway, President Tinubu has now come out to talk, talking about his victory at the court, saying that he welcomes the judgment. Don't welcome it.
Which is obvious anyway. Again, I know you're still on that matter, but there are a lot of reactions following this. Mm-hmm. For instance, the supporters of the Labour Party, especially people who belong to Peter Obi's movement, are saying that they're going to protest. A lot of them have started. It's even trending now. The word protest is trending on X. And they've also said that Bola Tinubu is not their president, regardless of what the Supreme Court has said. And they are saying that it's on them to fight for Nigerians, that they know that Nigerians are going through a lot, and that all Nigerians voted for Peter Obi, and they are going to do whatever it takes. A particular top supporter of Peter Obi has made a video outside the court where they had gathered and everything, and he was even talking about going to The Hague, that they're going to take the case to The Hague. So this is where we are, and these are some of the reactions that you have. The truth is that if we go by INEC's numbers, Bola Tinubu with 8.7 million votes, Abubakar Atiku with
I think 6.9.
9 million votes, and Peter Obi with 6.1 or thereabout.
Yeah.
Or 6.2, as the case may be. If 6 million people voted for Peter Obi, 6 million voted for Atiku, plus all of them plus, and 8 million plus voted for Tinubu, you really don't expect that all those Peter Obi supporters are going to immediately say, you know what, we agree.
Well, I agree.
I don't think, for the life of me, I know that that's where we want to be politically. But I don't think that we're that matured yet to the point where when we know that this is the end of the road. Really and truly, legally, this is the end of the road. But we're not there yet. One of their top influencers had actually said, look, the judgment is out and is not going to fight the APC's presidential candidate, who is now the president of Nigeria, anymore, because he believes in the Nigerian project and everything. And you should see the way they called him out. And I think the guy's name is Akin Tolgate, top Peter Obi movement person and all of that. And these are some of the things that we need to talk about. Things will not always go the way you want it. People will not always agree with you. And even in instances where you won or you think you won, the world will tell you you lost.
You lost.
For whatever it is, take it as an ability that you have, that brought you to that level. But now look at the opportunity that it presents to you to take you to the next level. If I am allowed to advise Alhaji Abubakar Atiku,
I think you should rest.
And His Excellency Peter Obi, I will say to them, the Supreme Court has spoken. At this point, let go of all of these things. But this is me, my opinion, and it's not binding on anybody. However, anything that you want to do after Supreme Court is most likely going to be illegal. After Supreme Court, it's most likely going to be illegal. And these are some of the things that irk, me, that we have not matured to the point where we're able to say, okay, the court has spoken, we'll let it go. We'll be back in 3.5 years' time.
Yeah, I think that is something that people need to look into. And maybe even not for the PDP. For me, PDP has been there since forever, and I don't think PDP is going anywhere anytime soon. They ruled this country for 16 years. Of course, they want to come back as well, which is everybody's fundamental right. I think that it goes to the Labour Party, and Labour Party is a third force nobody saw coming.
Strong one. Regardless. Very strong force.
And they did. It's not something that has happened since 1999. And they could pull it off. If they could pull off, I think that at this point, I think that there is enough of this drama, because a lot of these things were drama. I feel that first things first, they need to look inward. They have a lot of internal issues that needs to be sorted out, and sorted out fast. Whether we like it or not, 2027 is right about the corner. You will be shocked how fast 2027 would come. And then you're still dancing around the same issues over and over and over again. I think that we need to also now go back to the drawing table and see what went wrong and how they can do better. I also feel that at this point, for Nigerians, we need to now it is time to officially now ask the president, you made these promises, what are you going to do about them? We need to start asking all these questions quickly and in earnest. Also, former President Buhari has praised the Supreme Court verdict, asking opposition to work with the president to move Nigeria forward.
Before we move away from all of this, I'm just going to say it. We said it before. I'm going to say it again. A lot of people had high hopes when President Buhari became president of Nigeria
I
on the
did.
bill of the APC. A few months after, which happens all the time everywhere in the world, I call it the honeymoon period. The honeymoon was over. For Buhari, it lasted a couple of months. There was a time when they were talking about body language and everything and how he had not done anything and people were already afraid and all of that. You know, the Buhari, I'm going to be honest here, the Buhari that everybody was dreaming of was the general. The Buhari
No,
they got
we didn't
was
get the general.
was the politician, the wannabe gentle politician. I don't want to go against the law guy. But of course, people started losing it, and at some point they just wrote him off. No matter what happens, he was there for 8 years. 8 long years, and he ruled. The Bola Tinubu that is there now didn't even get he didn't get a, what did I say? What's that thing that couples do when they get married again?
Honeymoon.
He didn't get it.
I don't think
he didn't get it because a lot of people were actually, one, personally, there are people who don't like Bola Tinubu. They just don't like him. The hatred for him is real and is out there. There were people who felt that it was time for the South to produce a president again, and it shouldn't be a Yoruba person, since there was a Yoruba person in '99 in the form of former President Obasanjo. So people are like, okay, allow the Igbo president go.
Yeah.
So that brought the tribal sentiment in. Then they were like, wait, we just had 8 years of a Muslim president. Why do we want to have 8 years of
another Muslim?
or 4 years
Four years
of a Muslim president, even if it's from the South?
Mm-hmm.
That brought in the religious sentiment in. Muslim ticket. The third part was when he decided to pick as his running mate a fellow Muslim like him, former governor of Borno, Kashim Shettima, Abi.
Yeah.
Then that brought the
religious
angle to the crescendo, where people are like, no, we are not going to do this and all of that. I'm saying that all of these factors worked against Bola Tinubu, religious and tribal sentiments. But all the PDP had to do, all they had to do to win was to ensure that they did not burn the bridges that were within their party. Mm-hmm. How do you have a Peter Obi that was your presidential candidate 4 years ago? How do you have that kind of person, strong person that was your VP, leave for another party? How do you have one of the most powerful northern politicians in the form of the Kwankwasia movement, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, leave your party for the NNPP? How do you have a group that emerged that they call themselves Integrity Group, but fondly referred to as the G5, the group of 5 governors, leave your party? Let's be honest with ourselves. If you look at the number of votes that the G5 gave to Bola Tinubu, especially in Oyo and Rivers.
They are never won before.
Oyo and Rivers. If you look at the number of votes that the Kwankwasia movement and the NNPP got in Kano, if you take those votes, Tinubu had 600,000 votes in Oyo, or thereabout, right? He had about 800,000 votes in Rivers State.
It was 1.7.
About 1 million votes in Rivers State. And Kwankwaso had over 1 million votes in Kano. So take all those votes, it's close to 3 million. Add it to Atiku's 6 million. Tell me who will be president of Nigeria today. It is not Bola Tinubu. Because even in Lagos, he lost. Even in Lagos, he lost. If it's by 10,000 votes, we hear he shall lost. Because 10,000 votes can make you president and make you not president. Right? This is the real issue. Politicians should stop riling up people and bringing up
when
sentiments.
You know the original issues.
The issues, and you didn't get it. Then you're calling for support for court case when you could not call for support for votes. Imagine if Labour and PDP were able to collaborate before the elections.
Before the elections, yeah.
Before it was hard to switch names and say, you know what, Peter Obi, come back, be the presidential candidate. Atiku, sadly, you can't be vice president again. You've been vice president for 8 years, Abi. Nominate someone. Do you understand? And Atiku nominates someone, and then I have Obi and somebody on that bill. It's massive. Or Atiku goes again and says, I'm still president. But Peter Obi, look, step down for me. I'll make you my vice. And they go back with that same ticket that they had 4 years ago against Buhari. And they come back. And they had done that against... They would have won Tinubu, in my own opinion. They would have defeated APC. I believe so.
Looking at the amount of numbers they both garnered, yes, I think
they would have defeated the APC. Atiku won in Osun State.
Any which way, it's official now. Those things have been put to bed. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the president of Nigeria, regardless of our opinion or not. And looks like it's going, except for any unforeseen circumstances, it's going to be like that till 2027. Now, let's move on quickly from that as let's just run through a few things before we go. The DSS has finally released a former EFCC chairman, Abdul Rashid Bawa, from detention after over 134 days.
If you arrest the man, regardless of his status, you must have something on him for you to have arrested him in the first place.
Mm-hmm. So why are you just releasing him yet?
And you release him. No court case, nothing. If I'm Bawa at this point, my lawyers should be working hard on suing the
So why did you hold me for that long? I think I agree with you, actually. Makes perfect sense. You should be suing him. I don't know why. Well, maybe there is an arrangement that they did not make public. We'll see where all that goes to. Also, moving on from that quickly, going to Bayelsa State, where the former Minister of Petroleum, Timipre Sylva, has now written to INEC seeking the immediate withdrawal of the amendments candidates list. So, was it yesterday or 2 days ago, the INEC had released another list of candidates, gubernatorial candidates, for the elections in November, and Timipre Sylva's name was not on it.
Politicians must learn that before they put themselves forward, everything must be in order. Mm-hmm. Until we learn this thing, we'll continue to have all these issues. From the look of things, it's going to be a battle between Labour Party and PDP in Bayelsa, from the look of things. And the PDP candidate is the incumbent. It's the incumbent.
We definitely will see where all that drama is going to go. Also, the federal government is set to delist unverified workers from the payroll tomorrow, Friday.
Delisting unverified workers is a welcome development. What they've done is that when this government took over, they did some kind of verification process. Mm-hmm. But what they don't know, I'm not saying this is Gabriel, what if some of the workers only came back for verification and went back to wherever they were hiding and still collecting salaries? Think about it. It's a conspiracy theory. Listen, I didn't say it happened though. I'm just saying allegedly it could have happened.
That was FD.
But at least delisting the ones that couldn't verify is a good move. We'll get there.
We definitely will get there. Also, the Senate has now confirmed the appointment of the new ICPC chairman.
Congratulations to him.
Interestingly, coming down to Lagos State, as we had talked about Lagos like weeks now, is that the Lagos State is not, they seem to be doing a lot of clearing, and I think it's a welcome development. It's just that you just wonder how come this did not happen earlier. For people that in Lagos, especially people that go to places like Obalende, Ejalonibo, the Akpogbo, Ebute Ero, and Idumota, the Carter bridges on Lagos Island, you will know that a lot of public or commercial vehicles have turned those bridges to their permanent car parks, leaving 3-4 lane bridges for You people that are driving, leaving just one lane, just so that you are not completely blocked off. Just
that one lane
just
said you go
because
still beg.
you will still beg. Now the Lagos State has now come. They have now impounded well over 100 vehicles. I know that last week we had talked about it on the bar where they had given them 7 days. 7 days notice for people to move their vehicles. And after that notice, you would think that people will move their property. How come LASMA is impounding more than 100 vehicles? Did they think it was not going to happen?
I don't know how they're going to sustain this. The power that commercial vehicle operators wield in Lagos, especially, and in fact across Nigeria, everywhere in Nigeria, the powers that those guys wield, and I think is linked to politics. So I don't know how Lagos will sustain this, but I want to say kudos to them for starting it. But sustaining it will be a beautiful thing because it will reduce traffic in Lagos by at least 10%.
10?
At least 10%. You know, I'm sorry, but if you're done with this particular story, one of the stories that we led with, we've not talked about it at all, which is the Port Harcourt issue.
Oh, yeah. So before I got to that quickly, I wanted to announce that for people that go through the Lagos-Ibadan rail service, the Senate announcing, the NRC is now announcing that e-ticketing is set to commence next week. I think it's a very welcome development. Something that should have started a while ago.
It's all BS for me. I think it's all BS. In the process of building the rail, in the process of building the train stations, in the process of putting this old new standard gauge system into place, or even reviving the single gauge tracks and all, you should have thought of this line. We got on that ride from Agege train station to Ibadan a couple of months ago, and I'm not gonna lie, the first thing that took me off my track was when they told us that we had to get cash.
You had to look for cash.
Not in this economy. Not by a government that is pushing a cashless, economy. That alone.
Make any sense.
Then when you're on the train, just about when the train is about to leave, you just see a surge of people who come in. And you're like, okay, why? Because we've gone through the process, and you find out that some of them are walked in by people who actually claim to be or act like they are members of staff of the railway company. There's a cesspool of corruption in that place. I said it, and a lot of people have said it too. They put out videos and everything. But what has government done about it? Now, this thing, thank you, better late than never. But it still won't curb all the other issues that they have. And you have borrowed money to set these things up. You could be making more than you are making if you open up your eyes, Nigerian government, to look at the corruption that is going on in your rail system.
In the rail system, yes. Anyway, finally, before we go, there's a story that broke. Apparently, there's a particular lady, very young lady, that had gone missing, and they've been looking for a couple of days. Supposed to be an undergraduate of University of Port Harcourt. And it was said that she was finally found in her boyfriend's apartment.
No, she wasn't found. She wasn't found.
No, you didn't let me finish. She was found
I know.
dead and dismembered in her boyfriend's apartment. According to the story, I think the security of the estate where the man lives is, I think he was on his way out. That was how he was caught. The videos of him wrapping her, he wrapped her in some polythene bag. There was blood all over the place. Very, very gory sight. And it said that he too is supposed to be a student of that school. There are a few things to unpack from this story. And one of the things is that you wonder what according to him, it's supposed to be. It's either some organ harvesting or ritual killing or whatever it is. The basis is that it's money, Abi.
Yeah.
And then you wonder what an undergraduate is looking for that kind of money for. You wonder how heartless people are. People that you call someone you call your girlfriend. I'm not saying that it makes any difference if he had done that to a stranger. I'm just saying that it makes it more ridiculous. How it is okay that he felt that it was okay to do what he did. A very young person at heart. Not even at heart, physically. Though he's a very young man. How sudden love for money has removed our humanity, has taken away our humanity, that it is okay to dismember another human being. Is it a cow?
Now, the guy in question, the suspect who allegedly did this, is also a skit maker. Very popular skit maker.
Okay, skit makers.
He makes skits. There's a skit of his that I saw this morning where he was prepositioning a lady in public. Look, this is 50,000 naira. Would you suck my, I didn't say it though. And the lady said, of course, if you can bring it out in public, then I will do it in public too. And of course, he has 50,000 naira to give away. And one of the things I've always wondered about some of these skate makers, I'm not saying all of them, is especially the ones that just go popular so fast, like, where'd you get that money from? Where'd you all get all this money
they're very
that you're spending?
Yeah.
Two, in referring to some of these guys as ritual killers, they're not. Some of them are actually targeting the illegal, illicit market that buys body parts for people who are seeking transplants. Please forgive me. There is a terrible market that exists out there. Trust me, it's out there. I always say something, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, and I want posterity to judge me for it.